Hi everyone, it's Rayleigh here from Sunflower Stitcheries and Quilting. We're about to start another 100 days, 100 blocks event, and I thought I might share with you a few little bits that I've learned over the years. So Angie's been running this event for 7 years. Now, I couldn't tell you whether this is the 7th year or the 8th year, but I know I've made a quilt every year that she's done it, and it's been fantastic as a way to push myself to be consistent in my sewing area, and then to actually try different ways of doing the same pattern. Now, we haven't used the same pattern all of those years, so don't worry, but it's actually been a really interesting way of me working out what kind of quilts I like to make. Let's go through a few steps that we need to consider. By now you've probably got yourself sorted, but if you're watching this and it makes you think, what is this event? Let me go and check it out. What do I need? Well, first up, you're going to need the pattern. So this year we are using the Kinship quilt. Now this was designed by Angie and Beck, and there's 100 different blocks in here. It's fantastic. It's so well set out. So now you don't have to make it in blue. That's just what's on the cover. Make this quilt entirely your own. You do need the pattern. You can get it sent to you digitally. So you can buy the digital pattern and you can still start tomorrow. If you haven't got the actual pattern, then you might be starting a few days late. Anyway, you do need the pattern. I have managed to get so I got this from Angie. This is an 8.5 inch cutting ruler. So you can see it's got the diagonal line, and it is 8.5 inches square, so you can check that your blocks are the right size. But it's so much easier than the big long 24 by 6 inch ruler. So this has been really handy to have in my kit. The other thing that I have found, now I didn't think I needed these, and you can certainly make the quilt without these, but trust me, they make it easier. So these are the Marty Michelle templates. So they come in all different sizes. So this is set B and this is set A. These are probably the main two that you need for this quilt, and it just means that if you've got, let me open it, when you've got the triangles and the flying geese and all that sort of stuff, they come and they're the right size. They're the perfect size, and the pattern tells you which one you need. So they all have a number on them, so you can see there, that one's got the 2, and it will tell you which one you need. So you just grab that out, cut however many triangles you need, and then when they sew together, they're actually so fast. So if you've been on the fence about whether you need the templates and you're not sure, then ask for them for a gift, because they have been a bit of a time saver and a fabric saver. They do save you on fabric. So you don't need them, but they do make it easier. All right, you need a cutter. You need a rotary cutter. So much easier than scissors. Does anybody cut with scissors for patchwork these days? Possibly some people do. This would be in the next investment. And get yourself a new blade. So I have recently, I just changed the blade. You know how we always leave it too long to change blades? Be nice to yourself, get a new blade into your cutter. You'll thank yourself. So you need a ruler, obviously a cutting mat. Mine is down here underneath all this stuff, and you need fabric. So this is the fabric I'm using this year, and it's a bit scrunched up because I had a cutting session the other day. So we'll get into that later. So you do need that. You need pins. There's not a lot left on here, and I'll show you why. So just getting stuff out of my box. Get yourself some bits of paper, or if you get those pins with numbers on them, they're good as well. So that's what we need. All right, planning. Obviously you need to work out what fabric you're going to use, and what colors. Are you going to use a feature print? Are you going to use low volume? all those sorts of things. That's all your decision. This is just some hints and tips that I've found over the years of doing this event, which has been a lot of fun. And you get to see the block done in so many other ways. I reckon that's half the fun. But planning is going to be the key. All right, so planning, marking your blocks. So remember I talked about the pins and the paper. So here we go. This is obviously block 25, or the pieces for block 25, with a pin through it, and they're all held together ready to sew. So I have done that. So all those big bits of fabric, then this is all the bits of blocks. There you go, there's block 9. You know, pinned together so I can't lose any bits, ready to go. So certainly would recommend trying to be as organized as you can. If you've been in my sewing room, you know it's not always the most organized of spaces, but we try in places. All right, put them back in the box so I know where they are. Now, getting it done. How are we going to get this done? There are 100 blocks and they're all different. It's not like you can cut everything, you know, all out at the same time. It's not a quilt where the block repeats. So you can cut, you know, 100 of this size. So each block is different, and that's part of the fun. But batching is going to be your savior. So batch cutting, put my pen down, batch cutting, so that you know that you've got all the pieces for your block done. They're all pinned together, ready to go. Set yourself a goal. I'm going to cut 10 blocks. I'm going to cut 15 blocks. You know, if you cut out 30 blocks in a couple of sessions, that's a third of the way through, almost. But batching is going to be the key to getting through. Same with sewing. So you need to sew in batches. Set yourself a goal. I need to sew a week's worth of blocks, because then I'm a week ahead. Try and stay ahead is the key. You do not need to sew one block each day and then share that picture. Batch sew, take all your pictures, do whatever you want with them if you want to make them fancy, and then just share the picture on the day. Make it easy on yourself. So so getting it done. If you like to fiddle with your photos, you know, do your nice layouts and all that sort of stuff, and there's been some fantastic ones over the last years, do that, but do them in batches. Put them in your computer or fiddle with them on your phone so that you've got them there ready to share in wherever you want to put those, so that it's a bit easier on yourself. But batch processing, so batch cutting, batch sewing, batch photography is going to be your friend. So that is certainly something I would recommend. That's what I do. I've cut up to block 27, so I have 3 weeks, over 3 weeks, almost. That's because that's what fitted on the papers. And then I will do another batch cutting session very soon and do some more. So that's what I would recommend. Don't try and do one each day. Life gets in the way and all of a sudden you're a week behind and then you think, oh, forget it. But we want you to keep going. Yeah, so be nice to yourself. Just set yourself those mini goals and you'll be able to get through it. Then we're sharing one picture per day. Use the hashtag. I'll put all of that information below. Hashtag 100 days, 100 blocks, 2022. And you don't need to tag specific people, but certainly use that hashtag. And then anyone who follows that hashtag can find your block. So it's actually really interesting to see the quilts. And then now, part of what I like is the end, getting it together. Now, I'm going to be really honest here. The last year's quilt is not finished. The year before, I think it is finished. I'd have to check. But I know last year's is not finished. But the year before that, actually, I might be getting confused. But anyway, part of the process that I like is the quilting. So I'm going to go with last year. Last year we did this quilting kinship. So I have a series of videos on here and I've just made them all public for you, so go and check them out. They are all about quilting the kinship blocks. So there are 16 videos. That's 16 different ways that you can quilt your kinship quilt. Now, I wouldn't recommend doing all 16 on your quilt, but watch the videos. Then when it gets to the point where you're going to put them together, then you can either do it how I've done it. Now, these are still in sections. I think I called them sections of 4 blocks each with the sashing. So I used quite a low volume background. Oop, and that one's now going to fall off. So they've got the sashing and then they've got the quilting over the top. I very carefully tried to put some up here for you to see of the different ways that I've quilted them. So you might recognize these if you go and have a look in at those videos, and I'll put the links to that below. Now, these were all done on a domestic machine. I usually do stuff on a long arm, so it's a little bit different. But if you want to see how you could achieve some quilting, then I would recommend having a look at these. So these are specifically designed for the kinship blocks. Some of them are more all over designs. Some of them are quite specific to the piecing, and I chat about that as we go through. Now, what I have done is I usually demonstrate on a plain bit of fabric and chat about it, and then we go ahead and put it on the colored blocks. I have had a few people email me about finishing this off and how I'm going to put it together. That is in the plan. I'm really sorry it has not happened yet, but I will certainly let you know when I get to this, and because this is basically a quilt as you go method, and so it's all going to be quite a bit of a mishmash of colors, because I actually used up a lot of scraps and did like a certain color with each background. So there's blocks that are green or blue or red and yellow. So the quilt's going to be quite interesting when it's together. But anyway, I will let you know when that's being done and being released. So have a look at those videos. I'll link to the playlist in the description so that you can have a look at it. So just quickly, make sure you've got your equipment. Make sure you have planned out your quilt, whether you think about it in coloring or use something like pre-quilt, where you can input colors, and you know, depends on what you want to do with your quilt. The very first quilt I did was purely scraps, and I put it together with a red sashing and a red border, and I have done some other ones throughout the years. So one of them was a green quilt with gold, and there's a story that goes with that one. Then one of them was, so for this event, not this pattern, one of them was a quilt made for my dad, which was mainly in blue fabric but had a bit of a twist to it, so I'll share a picture with that one as well. And other times I've used a specific set of fabric, either that I was given or that I had in my stash somehow, and so, you know, they all sort of go together. And some of them I fussy cut, and that's probably the influence of Angie, who's a bit of a fan of fussy cutting, if you know Angie. And sometimes it's just whatever happens to end up in the block. So do be aware though with your planning. So if you have like a feature print, where's my feature print? This is my you could say, can you see that? All right, so this is probably what we call a hero print, where it's, you know, the big bold main feature, and some of the other prints are backups and you know, just background. So if you have a gorgeous hero print and you want to use that, then, you know, this pattern has some gorgeous big areas where you can highlight that. Go right ahead. So there's so many different ways that you can make this quilt entirely your own, even though we're all doing the same pattern. And that's part of the fun of watching all of this happen in the community. All right, so getting it done, we're batching everything. Batch cut, batch sew, batch photograph. So it makes it easier on you and you won't get so far behind. So really try and every weekend build in a few extras so that you've got, you work up so that you've got a number of days ahead so that you don't feel that pressure and you can finish it in peace. We're sharing 1 picture a day. Use the hashtag so that everybody can find it, and then come back and look at the comments and see what people think. But ultimately, make this quilt your own. It really is something that you can completely personalize to you or to the person you're making it for. Oh, now when we get to the finishing part, I'm talking about quilting in these videos. If you want some cheering along, I do run what's called a finish along. So if you would like to find out more about that, I'll put the link to the blog post that tells you all the stuff you need to know in the description. So there's a few links that you could look for down there, and I will be there to cheer you on, because part of my job as a long arm quilter is to help people get to that finish line of having a completed project. So that's one of the areas I love as part of this whole process, is not just making the blocks, but finishing it. So I've got a couple of options for you, and I will link to them so that you can see them. Overall, I want you to have fun. This is an event that I have thoroughly enjoyed every time I've done it, and I'm really looking forward to seeing everybody's blocks. I'm looking forward to getting last year's quilt together and also this year's quilt, because I have this in mind as a gift for someone close to our family. So yeah, it's always nice to give away a quilt. Anyway, have fun, enjoy 100 days, 100 blocks. We start on the 1st of August and it's going to be so much fun. So happy sewing, happy creating. I'll see you in the next video.